First thing we're going to do is create a new document. So we go to New, and then let's select something from the Web tab, and we'll do Web Large, 1920 by 1080. Make certain that when you do this, you're turning artboards off, and click Create. Now, what's important to note here is that every Photoshop file contains at least one layer. When you create a new layer, it's the background layer, and that's this right here. The background layer, you'll notice, has a little lock on it, and that means that we can't affect the opacity, we can't change the order of it. If you need to do that, you can right-click on this and create layer from background. And here you can name the layer, and now it is not a background layer, and you can see it. Now I can adjust the opacity. Now if I bring the opacity all the way down, you'll notice that I get this checkerboard. That's telling me that this is transparent. If I go to 50%, it's slightly transparent, and then 100% it's completely opaque. So I'm going to undo and go back to the background, and what I want to do is bring in a couple more images to create a composite here. So I'm going to go into Open, and I'll navigate to my desktop here. Let's see, we'll get the this image of the elephant and this image right here. So you'll notice when I open these up, it's opening up in separate tabs. What I want to do is combine these into that document that I just created. So I can go here to Arrange, and we'll do 3 up horizontal, 3 up vertical. Sorry, 3 up vertical. This is the document that I created before, and what I can do is, these are the 2 documents, 2 images that I loaded up. I can just drag and drop those into this new document. Okay. All right. So we can go ahead and close these out. You'll notice right off the bat there's some differences in sizes. That has to do with just the resolution. This image of the penguins is not as big. So what I want to do is I want to put this elephant right here in front of this little baby penguin. With layers, you can turn on and off the visibility of each layer, and that's done with this little eye icon here. And you can also, as I did before, you can adjust the opacity of each individual layer. You can also rename the layers. So this is something I do quite a bit right off the bat, because when you have a lot of layers, after a while it becomes confusing as to what's what. So I like to name everything. So we'll just call this elephant, and this we'll call penguin. So what I want to do is shrink this down, the elephant. I can do that with the transform tool. We can come up here into our menu, and we go to Edit, Free Transform, and that will give me the ability to shrink this down. I can grab one of the corners and shrink it down that way. Now I want to go ahead and zoom into the image, so I'm going to use Command plus and minus to do that. And I want to do something like this. I want it to completely cover over the baby penguin. Okay. So the composite, you can see there's some problems with it. It doesn't look very natural because the elephant isn't casting a shadow. The light is different. But this is a good starting point. When we want to make a change to a layer, it's important to have the layer active. And we do that by clicking in the Layers panel here. And you'll see now the penguin layer is active. How layers work, I like to think of this as sheets of glass. And you have, with each one of these layers, it starts out just an empty, transparent sheet of glass. And as you're adding images to it, what you're seeing in here in the canvas area is the composite of all of these images together. So think of, looking down at a stack of planes of glass. That's what you're seeing, sort of the composite of all of the layers put together. So what's important to remember here is the background layer, we can't change anything with the layer because it's locked. We can't change the opacity, we can't change the order or the blending mode of the background layer. That is why it's locked. And again, if we needed to do that for some reason, we can right click, that'll bring up a contextual menu, and we can do a layer from background, and that will make it a layer just like everything else, and then I can move this layer around. If I need to do that also, I can come up here into my layer menu, and we can go to, whoops, I have to make sure that my background layer is selected here. That's why this is ghosted out. So I have background layer selected. Now if I come up here to layer, menu, layer from background, I can do the same thing as I did before. If I want to look at just one layer individually, I can turn off the eye icon and solo just the one layer. Another shortcut way of doing it, instead of having to select these on and off, I can hold down the Option key, and that will solo just the one layer that I want to see, and it will turn everything else off. This is very useful, especially when you have a lot of layers that you're dealing with. So something else I can do here, it's a little bit hard to see these thumbnails because they're pretty small. I can right click, and that'll bring me up to a contextual menu. I right click and I go to large thumbnails. So on the bottom of the layers panel, you'll see this area here, and this allows me to delete a layer. I have to select the layer and click delete. When I do that, it will give me a pop-up, delete this penguin layer. I click yes. Another way I can do this is if I come down here, I can drag and drop this, hopefully, into the trash can. Another option I have with layers is the ability to create new layers. So I do that in this layers panel. If I click this little icon here, I can create a layer, or I can come up here into my menu and go to layer, new layer, and that will do the same thing. This right here is for creating folders, which is pretty handy when you have a couple layers that you would like to group together and do the same thing to the layers. You can do that by creating a folder or a group, and you can drag and drop these into a group. So now if I come back here to my image and I do another transform again, it's transforming both of those layers at the same time. Okay, I'll go ahead and undo that. Take them out of the group there and delete the group I'm undoing. These other areas here, add layer mask. This is an icon that allows you to add an adjustment layer. We'll talk about those more in depth later. But I did want to show you layer style. If I want to add a layer style, I can click on that, and it gives me several options here. So let's say I wanted to add maybe an outer glow or a drop shadow. I can do that in this panel here. I would come up here to drop shadow, and if I turn up the opacity, you can kind of see it in the background there. It gives it more of a three-dimensional look, and I can adjust the angle of it and also the spread of the drop shadow and the size. So these are layer styles. There's many different layer styles. We can do outer glows, which you can't really see because it's white on white. Let me change the color of that to something you can see. There's a red. We'll change this. This needs to be in normal in order to see it. And so there's various layer styles here. I would just play around with them to get a better understanding of just what they do. So if for some reason we want to create a copy of a layer, we can do that by dragging and dropping to this icon here, and it will create a duplicate copy. And from here we can reposition that. The last thing I want to do here is I want to create a little motivational poster for this image. I have a file that's already selected here, and so what I can do is I can drag and drop it into the canvas area, and you'll see that it automatically creates a layer, and from here I can resize this to the size I need. I'm going to do something smaller just because there are resolution differences here. So I'll find the size I want, I click apply, and from here you'll notice that it's blocking the other layers. I can move this down, and so the other layers are in front, and I'll go ahead and group these two together again. I'm shift clicking to select multiple, and then I'm going to hit group, and now I can do a transform. Again, that's up here, free transform, and I can shrink this down just so it fits right in the window. Now the aspect ratio is like a little bit different here, so if need be, I can stretch this out a little bit. I'm holding down the shift key, and that allows me to change the aspect ratio, otherwise it's locked. That looks good. I'll go ahead and click apply. Now you notice that there's a bunch of extra space here just because there's differences in the resolution of the working document and then the pieces that I've brought in. But just for simplicity, we're going to use the crop tool here. That's C for crop tool. And if you get something like this, it means that up here in your tool options, you have something already set. So I want to just go with a default click clear, and that will allow me to start from scratch with it without using a preset. So I'm just resizing this, and then when I find the size I want, I double click, and now the document is conformed to what I had set on the crop tool. Looks like there's a little bit of extra stuff out here, so I'm going to just recrop it again and just bring this in just a little bit more.